Welcome to What the Tech, where we cut through the hype and give you news you can actually use. And today, we're diving into a revolution that's happening right under our noses. The people who literally build our digital world are suddenly finding that they barely need to write code anymore.
Yeah, you heard that right. Something profound and frankly pretty bizarre is transforming one of tech's most iconic jobs. The computer programmer is changing in real time. And trust me, it's not what you think. And this quote right here, it just says it all. Now, that's not some angry manager talking to a junior developer. Nope, that is a real command a programmer gave to his AI partner. See, the AI submitted some broken code, and the human's response was to tell it that failing a quality test is unacceptable and embarrassing. He's literally managing a machine's professional reputation. This is the new reality. Programming is becoming less about writing code and way more about having a conversation.
But look, this strange new world didn't just pop up overnight. It's actually the final destination of a journey that started almost 80 years ago. A journey with one big goal: to take the tedious, repetitive drudgery out of programming. And this whole journey is built on one simple, powerful idea: layers of abstraction. It sounds technical, but it's not. All it means is hiding the messy, complicated stuff so you can focus on the big picture. For decades, programmers have been building tools to automate the annoying parts of their own jobs, one layer at a time.
To see what I mean, just look at the difference between the 60s and the 90s. Back in the day, a simple calculation meant writing 9 or more lines of this super dense code called assembly. You had to manually tell the computer exactly how to manage its own memory. It was slow, painful work. Fast forward 30 years to Python and all that complexity is hidden. That exact same task, boom, one simple line. That's a layer of abstraction right there.
Which, of course, brings us to today. With these new AI models, we've basically hit the ultimate layer of abstraction. The programming language isn't really a language anymore. It's just English. You just describe what you want the computer to do, and the AI handles the translation.
So, what's the big deal? What does this actually look like in the real world? Well, it means one thing above all else: speed. A massive, almost unbelievable jump in productivity that's completely changing the game.
So just how fast are we talking? Well, one veteran coder, Steve Yege, says he's now 10 to 100 times more productive. He says it feels like humanity has been walking for thousands of years, and someone just handed us a rocket ship. And that incredible 100x gain? That's most obvious when developers are starting a brand new project from scratch.
Okay, but here's where we need to add a little nuance. For a startup, what they call a greenfield project with no old code to worry about, that 100x number is totally possible. But for a giant company like Google, working in a brownfield, a tangled mess of millions of lines of existing code, the gains are different. Google's CEO says their developers are seeing about a 10% boost. Now, 10% might not sound like a rocket ship, but at that scale, a 10% efficiency gain across the entire company is, and I'm quoting them here, freaking bonkers.
You know, understanding that difference between a 100x moonshot and a 10% game changer is so important. And it's exactly the kind of analysis we try to bring you every single week here on What the Tech. So if you're getting value out of this, do us a favor and hit that like and subscribe button. And definitely tell us what you think in the comments. Is this AI boom the real deal, or is it all just hype?
Now, behind all these numbers and all this talk of productivity, there are, of course, people, real-life coders. And for them, this revolution is stirring up a pretty potent mix of genuine excitement and some deep, deep anxiety about what the future holds for their jobs.
The job itself is fundamentally shifting. The best analogy I've heard is that it's a change from being a construction worker to being an architect. You know, instead of painstakingly laying every single brick by writing every line of code, the developer is now designing the blueprint. Their main job is becoming less about creating code and more about judging the AI's work, guiding the big picture, and just testing out new ideas at lightning speed. On one side of this, you have developers who are, and this is the word they use, weirdly jazzed about all this. Tech exec Anil Dash puts it perfectly. He says these AI models are taking away the boring, repetitive parts of the job and leaving the interesting, soulful stuff, the big architectural thinking, to the human.
But then, you have the other side of the coin. An engineer at Apple really captures this feeling of loss. For him, what some people call drudgery was actually the craft. The whole joy was in the hands-on process of building something, line by line. He didn't get into this field to become a manager of bots. He says, "I did it because it's my passion. I don't want to outsource that passion. And this anxiety isn't just a feeling, by the way. It's already showing up in the hiring data. A study from Stanford found that while jobs for experienced senior programmers are holding steady, the number of entry-level positions for new grads has dropped by 16% since 2022. That very first rung on the career ladder, it's already getting harder to grab onto.
So if the pros are becoming more like managers and architects, what in the world does this mean for the rest of us? Well, honestly, this might be the most exciting part of the entire story.
Let me tell you a quick story about this guy in Paris, Maxime Cuisy. He's a production manager at a print shop, and he had a problem. His new printers needed thousands of images to be adjusted manually. Super tedious. The thing is, he has zero coding knowledge. None. So he just talked to an AI. He described the app he needed in plain English. By the end of the day, he had a custom working application that solved his company's problem. He literally created software without writing a single line of code.
And this is why this matters to everyone, even if you think you'll never need to code. What's happening to programmers isn't a one-off thing. It's a preview. This fundamental shift from being the hands-on creator to being the architect, the editor, the judge of an AI's work, that's a pattern that we are almost certain to see play out in countless other jobs.
Which leaves us with one last really powerful idea. For 80 years, making software meant you had to know a secret language. It was a skill that created a hard line between creators and consumers. But now, that barrier is just gone. The only thing you need is an idea and a conversation. So the real question is, what conversation are you going to start?